Imagine the pain of discovering that your entire family has been infected with HIV. For 20 years, Nehemiah and Jane had built their marriage on love, prayer, and unwavering trust. Their home was one of peace and laughter, a place where morning prayers echoed through the walls and evening meals turned into storytelling sessions. Together, they raised 3 beautiful children: Montana, their 18-year-old daughter, and the lively 10-year-old twins, Dave and Amanda. Their lives flowed in rhythm. Nehemiah, a respected architect, worked hard to provide, while Jane, a teacher, kept the home warm with kindness and devotion. And in that warm household lived Mary, the young maid who had stayed with them for 6 years and become more like family than help. Jane loved her dearly, calling her my little sister. Even the children saw her as an older sibling, often running to her for help with homework or to braid their hair. Even Nehemiah respected her dedication and often spoke highly of her. To show appreciation, Jane and Nehemiah enrolled her in a tailoring program, believing that one day she would stand on her own feet. Everything seemed perfect until that Christmas. Every December, the whole family traveled to the village to celebrate Christmas with their extended family. But that particular year, Nehemiah told his wife he would stay behind because of unfinished office work. Jane understood and agreed. She decided to travel with Montana and the twins, trusting Mary to take care of Nehemiah and the house while she was away. Mary accepted the responsibility happily. A part of her was glad. She had always admired her boss quietly, his discipline, his calm authority, his kindness. It wasn't love, not really, but a confusing admiration that had grown over the years. She cooked, cleaned, and ensured everything ran smoothly. She saw it as an opportunity to prove her loyalty once more, but fate had other plans. One evening, Nehemiah attended a co-worker's birthday party. It was meant to be a brief outing, but things took an unexpected turn. Surrounded by colleagues and laughter, he drank far more than he should have. He returned home much later than usual, his shirt untucked, his breath thick with the smell of alcohol. Mary rushed to assist him when he stumbled through the door. Her intention was pure, but as she tried to make him comfortable, he became restless and held her hand. Mary didn't move away. For years, she had admired him quietly, his discipline, his calm authority, the gentleness he showed his wife. In that hazy moment, her admiration melted into something reckless, and just like that, one mistake led to another. That night turned into something neither of them could fully explain. One regrettable moment that broke the peace that had lived in that home for years. By morning, the sunlight exposed the truth neither could hide. Nehemiah woke up, confused and horrified, to find Mary lying beside him on his matrimonial bed. The bedsheet was tangled, her clothes scattered. His heart dropped as realization dawned. He knew what had happened, and guilt hit him like a blade. He got up quietly, shame burning through his veins. How could he ever face his wife? How would he live with himself? Later that day, he called Mary into the sitting room. His voice was low, filled with shame. "Mary," he began, "what happened last night was a terrible mistake. I was not in my senses. Please, let's forget it ever happened. Don't speak of it to anyone." "I am deeply sorry." Mary stood silently, her expression cold. She didn't say much, but inside, anger burned. She felt used and thrown away like she didn't matter, though she nodded in agreement, but her heart told a different story. From that day, Mary changed. Her tone, her look, and even her walk. Everything became different. She started dressing in ways that made Nehemiah uncomfortable and acted in ways that crossed every line of respect. She would smile at him strangely, linger around him unnecessarily, and make remarks that hinted at what had happened between them. Nehemiah avoided her as much as possible. He spent long hours at work, sometimes even ate outside and locked himself in his room whenever he came home. But Mary would not give up. She believed she deserved more: attention, affection, and perhaps a place in his heart. One evening, while Nehemiah was in the study, Mary entered without knocking, wearing a short nightdress that barely covered her thighs. She tried to get close to him, whispering words that made him furious. He pushed her away and stood up angrily. "What is wrong with you, Mary?" he shouted. "You should be ashamed of yourself. My wife trusted you like a sister, and this is how you repay her? You were part of this family. How could you allow yourself to sink so low? Leave before I lose my patience." Mary froze. His words cut deep, and shame quickly turned into anger. Her face hardened as tears rolled down her cheeks. "So that's it," she said bitterly. "You use me and throw me away? You think you can just act innocent and go back to your perfect wife? No, sir. You will regret this. You will regret ever touching me. I will destroy your peace. I will destroy your home." Nehemiah was speechless. Her tone was sharp and filled with venom. He realized too late that one moment of weakness had opened a door he might never be able to close. From that day, fear took over his once peaceful life. Her silence around him became even more frightening. And as the Christmas holidays drew to an end, Jane called to say she and the children would return soon. Nehemiah's heart raced with anxiety. He had no idea how to hide a secret or stop the storm that was coming. When Jane and her children returned from their Christmas holiday, everything looked normal. The house was clean, the meals were ready, and Mary welcomed them with her usual quiet smile. Nehemiah too pretended that nothing had changed. He laughed, hugged his children, and helped carry their bags. To anyone watching, it was a picture of a perfect family. But deep down, there was a hidden tension, one that neither Nehemiah nor Mary could speak of. Both carried a secret that could shatter everything if exposed. Mary tried to act as though all was well, but each time she saw Jane and her children smiling together, something dark grew inside her. The same woman who had once treated her like a younger sister now became a reminder of everything she wanted but could never have. The same home that sheltered her now felt like a prison of guilt and hatred. All the good things Jane had ever done for her, the kindness, the love, the training, were forgotten. They disappeared like smoke in the wind. Envy took over her heart, and the desire for revenge began to burn silently within her. Jane noticed a few changes in Mary. Her dressing had become bolder, more modern, but instead of suspecting anything, Jane smiled and praised her. She had always encouraged Mary to look like a young woman, even bought her clothes herself. She never imagined that behind the new appearance was a dangerous bitterness waiting to explode. Months later, Jane fell sick. It started like malaria headache, fever, weakness. Nehemiah got her malaria drugs, but the illness didn't go away. It got worse. He rushed her to the hospital, expecting a simple diagnosis. But the doctor's face changed after reading the test results. He looked at them slowly and said, "Mrs. Jane, you are HIV positive." For a moment, silence filled the room. Jane's hands trembled. Nehemiah's mouth went dry. "That can't be true," Jane whispered. "There must be a mistake." They ran the test again, but the result remained the same. Confusion took over. How was it possible? Jane had never been unfaithful. She had lived a pure, committed life. Nehemiah too denied ever cheating. He could barely look at her. Both of them went home in shock, unable to speak. The silence that followed was worse than words. The doctor advised that the whole family should get tested. And when the results came out, the nightmare deepened. All 3 children were HIV positive too. The once happy home turned into a house of tears. Jane wept uncontrollably, holding her children close. Montana, being 18, understood the meaning of those 3 letters, HIV. She knew it was something one could live with, but it also meant life would never be the same again. Dave and Amanda, only 10, didn't fully understand. They just knew something terrible had happened. Nehemiah was lost in thought. His heart was heavy with guilt and confusion. Could his one mistake, that drunken night with Mary, be the reason? But how? Mary looked so healthy, so strong. She couldn't possibly have it. Could she? Days later, Nehemiah and Jane called Mary and pleaded with her to go for a test. At first, she refused, saying she was fine, but after much pressure, she agreed. When her result came back, the truth hit them like thunder. Mary was also HIV positive. The house fell into silence. The reality was too much to bear. Jane felt her heart ripping apart. None of it made sense. She had been faithful. She had loved purely. How could this happen under her own roof? She turned to Nehemiah one evening, tears in her eyes. "Tell me the truth," she said. "What have you done?" Nehemiah denied it again and again, but the guilt in his voice betrayed him. That night, Jane heard raised voices from the kitchen. It was Nehemiah shouting, "Stay away from my wife Mary. What happened between us was a mistake. Jane froze. She stepped in and demanded to know what was going on. Both of them stood speechless and refused to speak. When she threatened to call the family elders and tell them everything, Nehemiah's body shook. He couldn't bear the thought of public shame. Finally, with trembling lips, he confessed. He told Jane about the night he came home drunk and what happened between him and Mary. Jane screamed in disbelief, but what came next broke her even more. When she asked Mary why she would betray her despite what she had done for her, Mary began to cry and confessed everything. She said she had been living with HIV for 2 years. Her ex-boyfriend had infected her, and she kept it a secret out of shame. When Nehemiah wanted her that night, she knew he would get infected, but the urge of wanting him couldn't resist. But when he rejected her afterward, she felt humiliated and decided to take revenge. Mary confessed that she deliberately hurt herself and spread the infection throughout the family. She said she used a blade to cut her skin and then used the same blade to trim Montana's nails. She brushed her teeth until her gums bled and used the same toothbrush for Dave and Amanda. She used her private clipper to shave and later used it to cut Dave's hair. She mixed her blood into Montana's skincare oil. I did it out of anger. I didn't think it through. I just wanted him to feel the pain I felt. Jane almost collapsed. Her screams filled the air. The sin of my husband has brought suffering upon my innocent children, she wailed. Mary was arrested for intentionally infecting others, but her arrest couldn't fix the damage. Montana could not look at her father without tears. Dave and Amanda didn't understand everything, but they knew something terrible had come from their father's mistake. Jane filed for a divorce. She couldn't stay in the same house with the man who brought shame and sickness upon her family, but walking away didn't change the fact that they all carried the same virus. Nehemiah lived with regret every day. The weight of his guilt became his punishment. If only he hadn't gone for that party. If only he hadn't drank too much drink. If only he had suspended his work and traveled together with his family, none of this would have happened. He wished he could turn back the hands of time, but it was too late. One mistake had destroyed everything he loved. He used to have a happy home filled with laughter and peace. Now, it was quiet, filled only with pain, hospital visits, and regret.
Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to Hopela Stories.